Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy.
Here.
Trustee LaRocca.
Here.
Trustee Geezer.
Here.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Here.
Trustee Shorzy.
Here.
Trustee McCarthy.
Here.
Mayor Severino.
Here. Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of our April 1st, 2019 Village Board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Swarzy. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve but not release the executive session minutes of our April 1st, 2019 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by trustee Frusaloni, seconded by trustee Geezer. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Under listening posts, we have several resolutions. The first one will be read by trustee McCarthy, and it's resolution number 3080, commending Dave Hennessy for service as village trustee.
Whereas Dave Hennessy was elected as a village trustee and served in that position for 4 years, from May 4th, 2015 to April 30th, 2019. And whereas prior to becoming a trustee, Dave Hennessy was appointed to the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals on June 15, 2009, serving through June of 2011. He was reappointed on December 17, 2012. And whereas David Hennessy also served on the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners in 2012 before returning to the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals. And whereas Dave Hennessy was sworn in as a village trustee on May 4th, 2015, thereby requiring that he resign his position on the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals. And whereas Dave Hennessy has coordinated efforts to combat opioid addiction in Carroll Stream, and whereas Dave Hennessy has served the village of Carroll Stream and its residents extremely well and has contributed greatly to the welfare of the village. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and board of trustees hereby publicly commend and thank Dave Hennessy on behalf of the village of Carroll Stream for his service to the community. Pass and approve this 15th day of April 2019.
Can I make the motion we
Yes, you may.
accept resolution number 3080?
Second.
Moved by trustee Swarzy, seconded by trustee Frusaloni. Clerk call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy.
Should I abstain? I'm just kidding.
You can stay.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni.
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye. And Dave?
Absolutely.
I'll talk now.
Only if it's nice.
Make sure you turn on that microphone.
Don't forget name and address.
God, I really don't even know what to say. I've been thinking about this moment for a while. And a lot of people, it's crazy when I read the resolution when it was emailed to us on Friday, I can't believe it's been 10 years that I've been involved in village government, for the most part of 10 years. I mean, I was 24 when I started, and that seems like a long time ago. I just try not to get emotional here. It's been an honor to be up here and to serve this community. And, over the last several months, a lot of people have asked me, why I'm stepping away, because I believe myself to be young still and still have a lot ahead of me. And that's kind of the reason why I'm taking a break here. And it's been, like I said, I've been 10 years committed to this community, and I committed myself at a young age too, when I was younger. I mean, the mayor knows I was barking at meetings when I was a teenager, and it's been a good road and a long road, but the reason I'm stepping away is just to take some time for myself, because I feel like all my life I've dedicated myself to others, and it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I want to continue to do that. But before I not to use like, not to make this in a derogatory way, before I get too old, I just want to do some things for myself. So it's been a pleasure and honor. I thank everybody who's here today to support me, and I appreciate this resolution, and this is a great community. I know John's going to do a great job taking my seat on the board, and Carol Stream is going to continue to be strong as ever. So thank you, everyone.
Well, those of you that know me know how I picked him to run the first time. He wrote a nasty letter about red light cameras and sent it in. And I said to the village manager at that time, Joe Breinig, we need to bring this young guy in because this could be part of our future for this town. Not afraid to speak up, spoke his mind, sounded like he knew what he was talking about. So we're inviting him in. Joe said, I don't think that's a good idea. I said, invite him in and let him sit through the hearing and see what he thinks. After the hearing was over with, he got up like a man and said to me, I apologize, it's not what I thought it was. What you read in the paper and what we actually do, we spent 1.5 years writing that ordinance to make sure that no one had a problem with the ordinance on red light cameras. Not like some towns did, just put them up and start charging everybody money. He was smart enough to pick up on what we did and question why we did it. And that's how he got on his first commission, because I knew at that point we needed him. And that's how he got on the second commission. When the seat opened up, that's how he ran and that's how he won. So for me, I think this is a loss. He's become like a second son to me. Those of you know I lost a son, and David was one of the few people that stepped up when my son passed away, as his mother did for my daughter-in-law, and said if they need any help, let us know. So for me, there's always going to be a soft spot in my heart for Dave Hennessy and his family. So thank you, David, for your time.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate everything. I mean, you've been, like, as most people know, I lost my father at a young age, and I didn't have a lot of, like, strong men in my life. And you've been there for me, and I'll never forget, like, just your guidance, and I hope we can stay connected, and I don't plan to, completely abandon. I was joking. I promise I won't appear at any meetings, and,
You're always welcome.
but, that kind of appearance, where I'm up back in my day, on the board. So, but seriously, in all seriousness, I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me.
It's been my pleasure, believe me, when I say that, because you've been a breath of fresh air for me to be around.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was trying to think, how old were you when we started in baseball?
I know I was 21.
20, yeah.
Because after we lost our first game, my friend and I went out for drinks. And said, are we any good at this? So.
But what was amazing about that is, as you said, you lost your father at an early age, and here you are at 21, taking on a group of kids and trying to steer them in a direction in baseball. And I know you feel the same way I do, that sports, it's more life lessons than it is about sports itself. So I knew you all the way back then. And then there was the waste transfer hearings.
Yeah. I was young. I was like 18.
But you know what? You stood up. You weren't. You were well thought out when you spoke. We don't know. We haven't always agreed. We do most of the time. We haven't always agreed, but I always respect your side because it's a well thought out opinion. But so when I was ecstatic to help you when you decided to run for the board, because I did think you were a perfect fit, and I still think you're a perfect fit. I hate to see you leave. But congratulations on what you have done, and I'm looking forward to see what else you do.
Yeah.
And don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next is proclamation observing May 4th, 2019 as Comcast Care Days, and trustee Frizzaloni will read that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Proclamation observing 2019 Comcast Care Days. Whereas Comcast remains an active, committed, and engaged member of the community, as demonstrated by years of Comcast Cares service in local communities. And whereas Comcast cares the core American value of volunteerism through partnerships, grants, and volunteer activities that empower individuals and organized communities. And whereas Comcast Care Day is a celebration of service and commitment to year-round volunteerism and has become one of the nation's largest single-day corporate volunteer efforts that brings employees, families, friends, and community partners together for a common purpose and mission. And whereas Comcast is celebrating its 18th Comcast Care Day and has reached important milestones, including 1 million volunteers and more than 6 million volunteer hours at 10,000 projects since Comcast Cares Day started in 2001. And whereas Comcast Cares Day promotes a spirit of corporate responsibility thanks to the hard work, dedication, and service of Comcast volunteers in the community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Mayor Frank Severino Sr. and the Carroll Stream Board of Trustees, DuPage County, Illinois, in the exercise of its home rule powers, does hereby proclaim Saturday, May 4th, Comcast Cares Day in Carroll Stream, and encourages all residents and businesses to show support for community volunteerism. Proclaim this 15th day of April 2019.
Thank you, trustee Frizzaloni. Number 3 would be a proclamation observing April 26, 2019 as Arbor Day, and trustee LaRocca will read that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Observing Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was the first observed with planting more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our most precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderate temperatures, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide a habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas the village of Carroll Stream has made a significant investment in planting and caring for trees on public property, including replacement of all ash trees with a mixed diverse tree species. And whereas the village of Carroll Stream will participate in an Arbor Day tree planting event at Roy DeShane School on April 26th at 9:30 a.m. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and board of trustees of the village of Carroll Stream that April 26, 2019 be known as Arbor Day in the village of Carroll Stream, and all citizens are called upon to celebrate Arbor Day by supporting efforts to plant and protect our trees and woodlands for the well-being of this and future generations. Date this 15th day of April 2019.
Thank you, trustee LaRocca. Next is a proclamation designating April 29th through May 3rd as Air Quality Awareness Week, and that will be read by trustee Suarez.
Thank you, sir. Proclamation Air Quality Awareness Week. Whereas poor outdoor air quality can threaten the health of our citizens, and whereas it is estimated that 1 out of every 3 Americans are at a higher risk of experiencing problems from ground-level ozone, a contributor to poor air quality. And whereas the 6-county Chicago region is currently designated as non-attainment for 8-hour federal ozone standard, since ground-level ozone or smog measurements are above the United States Environmental Protection Agency's minimum safe standards of 0.07 parts per million, averaged over an 8-hour period. And whereas air pollution causes or aggravates lung illnesses such as acute respiratory infections, asthma, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and lung cancer. And whereas, since children, people with lung and heart disease, and older adults tend to be more vulnerable to outdoor pollution, it is beneficial for people to learn more about the effects air quality may have on their health if they fall into one of these sensitive groups. And whereas, knowledge of the Air Quality Index, AQI, can help protect our community's health. And whereas, accessing the AQI at www.airnow.gov is simple and free of cost. And whereas, the Village of Carroll Stream supports anti-idling of vehicles to reduce carbon emissions and has implemented a trial policy for its public works vehicles. And whereas, the Village of Carroll Stream and the US EPA are supporting efforts to encourage Americans to utilize the AQI, understand what causes poor air quality, and make strides to improve the overall outdoor air quality. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Carroll Stream that April 29th through May 3rd, 2019 be known as Air Quality Awareness Week in the Village of Carroll Stream. And all citizens are called upon to celebrate Air Quality Awareness Week by understanding the importance of the AQI, the health impacts of outdoor air pollution, and supporting efforts to improve air quality. Dated this 15th day of April, 2019.
Thank you, trustee Suarez. The next one would be a proclamation observing April 22nd as Earth Day, and that will be read by trustee Gieser.
Thank you very much. Whereas the first Earth Day was held on April 22nd, 1970, and was observed by millions of Americans to increase national awareness of the environmental hazards and public health effects of unchecked industrial pollution. And whereas the observance of Earth Day over the years has led to the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency, the adoption of the Clean Water and the Endangered Species Acts, a global ban on the use of the dangerous insecticide DDT, and the establishment of residential and commercial recycling programs worldwide, to name just a few of the major accomplishments. And whereas the village has been recognized for its strong commitment to sustainability and environmental protection by the Illinois Recycling Association, SCARES, the DuPage Conservation Foundation, the U.S. Department of Energy, and the DuPage County Department of Economic Development and Planning. And whereas the village encourages residents and the general public to participate in any of the upcoming environmental events or efforts in observance of this year's Earth Day. The Pond and Stream Sweep on Saturday, May 18th from 9 a.m. until noon. The all-day DEA Prescription Drug Take-Back Day on Saturday, April 27th at the RX Drop Box located in the Police Department lobby at the Gregory J. Belowski Municipal Center, that's here, the Village Hall, located at 500 North North Avenue. It's at Gary Avenue. Please note the Dropbox is available year-round. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that Mayor Frank Savarino Sr. and the Carroll Stream Board of Trustees, DuPage County, Illinois, in the exercise of its home rule powers, does hereby proclaim Monday, April 22nd, Earth Day in Carroll Stream, and encourages all residents and businesses to observe the 49th Annual Earth Day by acting locally in the community in support of our environment. Proclaimed this 15th day of April, 2019.
Thank you, trustee Gieser. Tonight, we have a presentation by Officer Staffy from our police department. Oh,
Andrea,
Andrew,
wait.
Don't leave. We want you to take a picture.
Oh, okay.
You afraid of police? You're not afraid of the police, are you?
No, no.
Good evening. I was asked to come here today to talk about the DRE program. As some of you know, we've had the DRE class here the past 2 weeks, and we've gone to certification nights. Some people ask, what is the DRE program? It actually stands for the Drug Recognition Expert Program. It's a program that's been around, is that better? It's been around for 40 years. It started with the Los Angeles Police Department back in the late 70s into the early 80s. It was started by two officers. One was a traffic officer, and one was a narcotics officer, Len Leeds and Dick Studdard. They're running in all kinds of people that were impaired, but it wasn't alcohol that was impairing them. They didn't know what to do with these people because it didn't fall along the lines of, say, alcohol, DUI, or things like that. So they got together with NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and the International Association of Chiefs of Police, which goes across the world. It's basically the chiefs from across the world. They did a lot of studying, went through programs, designed a program that basically looked at people, looked at the characteristics and how drugs affect people, and they came up with a program that allows us to put people through field sobriety tests, a 12-step program to determine if they are impaired. Is the impairment drug impairment, or is it a medical impairment? A lot of times it's very difficult to tell the difference between medical impairment or drug impairment. If it is medical impairment, we involve medical staff, paramedics, doctors. If it's drug impairment, when we look at the person, review the situation, we try and figure out what drug category is causing the impairment. When they went through the program to certify the program, they actually had officers go through the DRE training, and they went to Johns Hopkins University along with doctors. And they took a few different studies with multiple people, doctors and police officers, and basically had them compete. They'd examine the subjects that were involved, and placebos were involved too. Placebo is basically something that looks like a drug or is supposed to be a drug, nobody knows it's a drug, and see if it has effects on the subjects. The officers, when they went through the training, were 90% accurate at determining if the subject was impaired, and if they were impaired, what drug category or categories will cause the impairment. The doctors were at 60%. It doesn't mean that police officers are better at diagnosing issues than doctors. It just means that this program looks at the effects drugs have on people versus doctors who look at people that have an issue and maybe treat pain management or an illness. So the program went into full effect back in '80. Arizona was the first state to actually certify it, and it's a worldwide program now. It's been around 40 years. Only 1% of law enforcement ever achieved the certification of being a drug recognition expert. It's not a very high number. Try and put it into perspective, Illinois started back in '96 with 2 DREs in the state. Since then, they've had 10 classes. The state of Illinois, we have 131 DREs, and it's usually 30 in a class. So you figure 300 went through it, and there's only 131 that have the certification. The nice thing about the Village of Carroll Stream, thanks to outstanding support from our mayor, our board, Commander Cooper, who was at the time a Sergeant Cooper, and Deputy Chief Jungers, who at the time was a commander, they got us involved in the program. We now have 6 drug recognition experts in this department, which goes to a little fact, if you look at AIM or MAD, which are 2 of the big organizations that really support law enforcement against drug impairment or drunk driving impairment, they put up the numbers, and generally if we average around 300 DUIs in a year, about a third of those will be drug DUIs. The towns around us, they're lucky to get 6 or 7 drug DUIs in a year. So this training and the way we put it into effect here is actually having a significant effect on impaired motorists. I don't want to jinx us, but our traffic fatalities are very low compared to the communities around us. But this program, the last 3 years, we've actually worked on the certifications. What the program consists of is 2 weeks of very intense classroom training. There's a preschool, and then if officers get through the preschool, that they have to demonstrate proficiency in standard field sobriety tests and alcohol training. If they get through that preschool, then they go into the full DRE classroom portion. We're very fortunate. We can't have a successful program with that without having people like our village clerk here and her husband stepping up and helping us with what are called wet labs, where they come in and participate. We bring them up, supervised to a certain level of impairment with alcohol, and the officers have to go through and demonstrate their proficiencies and actually have to estimate a BAC level in them without using a preliminary breath test or a breathalyzer. They have to be pretty close, and they were pretty accurate, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I
So,
would say.
without having volunteers like you or your husband step up and help us out, we can't have an effective program. Tom Eby was great with that program as well. Tom Eby got a lot of the volunteers or certs to come out and help us out with that. As far as the classroom portion, your people, Mark's people, the IT people were incredible. They came up, they set us up, they responded, helped us out. We can't have an effective class without that. But officers that got through the preschool, they went through the rest of the actual DRE program, which basically consists of quizzes every day, 80% on the quizzes. If they don't get an 80% on the quiz, they get sent home. We have people not make it through the class. It's not a class that everybody passes. So they get through that. Once we got through the classroom portion, we've now started the field certification program, all right? So they got through all their quizzes. They took the final exam last Friday. The officers that made it through it, we went through the field certification. Now, this is where we do what we call green labs. We have people with cannabis medical cards that it makes them legal throughout the state to consume cannabis products. They come in and help us out. We also have subjects that are under the influence of prescription medications. They will come in and help us out on a volunteer basis. They sign waivers when they come in. The last 3 years, thanks to trustee Schwarzy and the fire department, we did these certifications over at the fire station. Okay, without having these locations and an understanding from the fire department and their chief, it makes it difficult to have a place to go to, especially when we were homeless for a year. All right? This year, we're doing it here. As Mayor Savarino saw, he popped in Saturday and met a few of the officers that were here from all over the state. The instructors that came in to help us teach this class this time around, we had instructors from as far away from as Chandler, Arizona, came out to help us teach this class. So having the support, and the officers were very impressed with you, Mayor. You sat down, you talked to them, you asked about the recreational cannabis coming and what we're going to be looking at that. Got a real good understanding of them. They were really impressed with the support you showed for them and for the program. So what I'm trying to say is I want to thank the board very much. I want to thank our mayor, our village clerk for volunteering her time. IT again, Mark, you guys were just incredible. And Commander Cooper, Deputy Chief Jungers as well. Incredible. But there is one person that I haven't pointed out yet, and that's because it wasn't just this year that she helped us out. Trustee Fruzaloni for the last 3 years has helped us out with the certification process, whether she was helping out with actually field evaluations or helping us monitor subjects during these certifications. That's huge. Because even though we'll have 4 or 5 instructors, DRE instructors out here to supervise it, there's a lot going on. Sometimes we have female subjects, and we may not have a female DRE instructor out here with us, and we have to get chemical testing. Trustee Fruzaloni has helped us out with that. She has helped us monitor these people, chase them around, not let them escape. Not that we would let them escape, but extra set of eyes and extra set of hands is always very helpful. So, thank you, Mary. We appreciate it. Thank everybody that's helped us support the program. We have about 4 more weekends left of the field certifications. The door's always open. If somebody wants to come in from the village and watch what we do, you're more than welcome. We have any questions about the DRE program?
Say thank you for what you're doing. It's our entire police department and Chief Saylor. But we're a team, and turn my mic on. You hear him? I'm the mayor. You know, so, thank you for watching me all the time. Thank you for all yous do, and thank you, Chief Saylor. But we're a team, and if you see that, everybody up here works together. The clerk, everybody brings the husbands in, the wives in. That's what it's all about, and that's how you can keep a community safe. But you guys take the lead on it. We stay out of your way. You tell us what you need, and if we could do that, if we can find a way to get you what you need, you'll always have it.
Well, and the
Just
support,
keep us safe.
the support's incredible because as you brought up on Saturday, we're going to head into a real dangerous time here the next couple of years. When they came up, or when they announced the Cannabis Compassionate Control Act, the medical card for cannabis holders, right away, we saw a huge influx in people driving under the influence of cannabis. And every time we arrested them, there was the same thing, it's legal now. Well, probably within the next month or 2 months, you're probably going to see cannabis decriminalized for recreational use. You don't even need a medical card anymore. And every state that's done it, they've seen anywhere from a 300% to 400% increase in traffic fatalities. It's the perception that it's not dangerous and everybody can do it. So our state has a lot of issues right now with the way they've written the law for people driving under the influence of cannabis. They've come up with nanograms, and the nanograms they've come up with are what are called delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, nanograms of 5 nanograms in whole blood or 10 nanograms in urine. I know that's very, can go right over people's heads, but there's not a lot of scientific basis for the way they came up with these numbers. Illinois adopted Colorado's numbers for it, and Colorado admits that there's no scientific basis for where they came up with the numbers. They had talked to officers that have been involved with this for years, or doctors that have been involved with this for years. They would have actually had them test for something totally different, but they didn't do it. So they didn't want to do a lot of research into it. So we're going to be into some very dangerous times here in the next few years with the perception that driving under the influence of cannabis really doesn't affect people, or the nanogram theory behind it. There's all kinds. I could talk for hours. I'm not going to hijack the board meeting tonight. But there's going to be some very dangerous times. And really, right now, the truly only true way you can really determine if somebody's under the influence of cannabis right now is going to be trained officers. That's going to be the only way you've got to do this. So these nanogram limits are being challenged all over the country right now. Illinois has a case out of Stark County that's probably going to go to the appellate court over the nanogram limit. And the state's going to basically have to go and say, we don't know where the scientific basis has come from this number. That case is going to involve fatality that they've got.
Well, I think you got your hands full coming up with the vaping, the 21 tobacco, and the cannabis, period, from the reports that I've seen that the chief has given me the last 3 years on Colorado. I tell the story, I have a nephew that has been addicted to drugs his whole life. We had him with us 3 different times. We took him in, and he just couldn't live by my rules, and that my rules were no drugs. He moved to Colorado because he could do drugs in Colorado. He moved from Colorado because it got so bad, he said, that everybody was on drugs. He said it was okay when just him and his friends were on drugs. But with everybody on drugs, it gets very confusing because everybody acts different. Some get mean, they get different, do different things. They're crashing their cars. So they all packed up their stuff that went there and left. So they don't want to be there. They didn't come back here because they heard about you being here, but they went further west. So they're out there in some desert someplace.
I'm glad you bring up Colorado because that helps put it into perspective as well. Colorado just had to decriminalize or make it okay for public defecation because of the homeless that have moved into the Denver area, and they have no place to go. And they were getting arrested for public defecation. So they've actually made that okay now. So if you think about the effects with that, and I don't care what people do in their homes, as long as they don't neglect their families or rob somebody else to do what they do. But if you get behind the wheel, that's where we have always had a real serious problem with it.
Absolutely.
And thanks, leadership under Chief Saylor, Deputy Chief Jungers, Deputy Chief Degnan, Commander Cooper. Carroll Stream's actually looked at as the forefront for departments to learn and be trained for DUI enforcement, especially in the line of drug DUI enforcement. That's one of the reasons why they came to us this past year and said, hey, could we have the classroom portion actually in Carroll Stream this year? And our command staff was absolutely, bring it here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years.
We appreciate what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just say a word?
Sure.
Having watched this now, conservatively, I've probably donated or volunteered probably over 50 hours over the last 3 years, maybe a little more than that.
Quite a bit
At
more.
least, yeah, it's 6-hour sessions, probably more than that.
You're always out there with us.
But what I want to say is, when Officer Staffy says we have 6 DRE officers, how many does Naperville have?
They have one active right now.
How many do the surrounding areas, is there any agency that has more than 3 besides us?
Wheaton had one that we trained 2 years ago. They have 2 in the program now.
Right.
Bartlett has finally come on board. They have 2 in the class now. Both are doing very well. West Chicago doesn't have any. Glendale Heights doesn't have any. Bloomingdale doesn't have any.
So my point is, to have 6 in an agency is an incredible number. And what I hear time and time again from the officers, because they're coming in from all over the state, is how does your police department do it? How do you get people on board with this? How do you get your command staff to allow you to do this? You've got officers that come in on their own time to take this class, and that's not unheard of. They can't believe that we actually pay our officers to do these trainings and then certify officers like Officer Staffy to be a trained instructor. I hear it time and time again from them saying, thank you for the support that your board shows to your police department. And honestly, I'm going to be selfish. I'm the mom of 2 kids that drive, and I want you guys to get these people off the road and keep my kids safe. And I said the same thing to the Wheaton officers that are in the current class, because my son works in Wheaton and drives through there every single day. I want my kid to come home from work alive. So thank you for doing this. I think it's really important. And Dan, anytime you need me, just call.
Well, this weekend, we're going to be kind of short with it being Easter.
It's my son's birthday, so next week.
But you bring up a good point. Actually, the teaching we do, we have instructors here that teach both the DRE course and A-RIDE. A-RIDE is DRE on light. It's Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement. The DRE program is such a commitment, a lot of people don't want to do it. The training is ridiculous. They basically look at it as you're drinking out of a fire hose. You get so much information in such a short period of time to come through. But the state, because of what we do with the teaching, they actually give us a training grant to go out and teach this. So a lot of my teaching, like the teaching I've done on these weekends, is paid for by the state. It's not paid for by the Village of Carroll Stream. When I taught the DRE class last week, again, it was paid for out of the grant that the state's awarded us to teach with, so it doesn't adversely affect our bottom line. But even if it did, the village has always been really supportive before they were funding us with a grant to teach, that we've been able to do that. I think we all share the same idea that taking these impaired motorists off the roadway and getting more officers out there trained is better for everybody, because we don't just stay in Carroll Stream, do we? We go travel to other towns and other counties, other states. And our DREs alone last year handled 28 call-outs to other departments where they had drug-impaired individuals. They didn't know what to do with them. They call over here, do you guys have anybody? We're at the CPS conference this week with 3 of our DREs, and they were waking us up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Do you have anybody? We got a car crash out here that's bad. If we're available, we go. You know, for years, we've borrowed other departments' canines, and it's what we do, we support each other. But 28 call-outs alone last year, that's a lot of time going out and helping out other departments. But you have to, because if you don't get trained officers out on these cases, those DUIs will walk every time. They will not get punished. There'll be no discouragement to continue that behavior.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan.
Trustee Hennessy, would you get your wife and your mother to come up? so we could take
Doing a picture now? Okay.
Please. Yeah, come on.
Should I go to the middle here?
Yes, yes, you should.
You stand up behind. We'll stay seated.
Okay. The chair's probably a little warm.
Man, we might have to shrink down for Andrea and Mom.
Be nice,
Find the spaces.
be nice.
There better not be any horns over my head.
Just a smile. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Under addresses from the audience, we have, first one is Sydney York and Delilah Gillette. Did I say that right? Come on, you two beauties, grab that mic, pull it down so we could hear what you got to say, and apparently you're Girl Scouts, right? Cub Scout, what do you call them? Girl Scouts? Where's the cookies?
We didn't bring any.
That's okay.
Hi, my name is Sydney. And my name is Delilah. We are Girl Scouts working on our Bronze Award project. We have chosen to help the PRC, the People Resource Center in DuPage County, by having a clothing drive for their clothing closet. All the clothes collected will be given to homeless families. We will have a drop-off day for our clothing drive at St. Luke's Parish, located at 421 Cochise Court in Carroll Stream on Sunday, April 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. Please bring any women's, men's, and children's gently used clothes to donate. We are also accepting formal wear and Halloween costumes. On that day, we will also have a bake sale during the drop-off time to raise money for the People Resource Center. We have flyers that we will pass out if you're interested in helping us. Thank you for listening. We'll hope to see you on April 28th.
Can you drop out, bring those flyers up here?
Flyers up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie.
Someday you may be sitting up there. Thank you.
Oh, you got one. Okay, I'll get one over here.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the Girl Scouts? Thank you. Next is Pamela Mosier, 1180 Robin Drive. It's a non-agenda item. Would you please? Oh, no problem. Sorry you had to wait.
Hello, my name's Pamela Mosier. I do live at 1180 Robin Drive.
Lift the mic up, please.
Thank you for giving me this time because I know it's probably not what I'm supposed to be doing, but things. Let me just preface this by years ago when I worked for the Chicago Park District in a very small park. I wanted a good t-ball field for my kids. I happened to go down and I ran into somebody. I said, I want a t-ball field. I got it. So I learned that if you ask, it never hurts. I live on Robin Drive, which is a subdivision that also has Oriole Drive. When they built our houses, for some odd reason, they didn't cut curbs. This is about curbs. My driveway has a 5-inch curb, as do most of my neighbors. Somewhere down through the past years, people have gotten them cut on their own, and your people downstairs have been wonderfully helpful in helping me figure out what to do about this, but it's kind of expensive, and a lot of my neighbors, myself included, really can't come up with the money. I drive around a lot. I put a 3-year-old to sleep in a nap, and there's very few houses in Carroll Stream that have curbs at their driveway. I would say 90% of the subdivisions and houses and things all have cut curbs that came with the houses. Somehow they didn't like ours, so they didn't do it. It is becoming a safety issue because cars are getting lower. I myself have had to pay for my friend's muffler underneath when she kind of like bumped over it and it scraped it off because they're high. So this is what my neighbors asked me to find out. If there's anything that anybody can do to help, here's the suggestions they came up with. First of all, have the village pay for it and help us out, pay it all. Again, I got a baseball field, it never hurts to ask. Maybe you pay for half. Maybe you reduce or waive our permit fee. Maybe you help us find the company that built these houses that didn't have cut curbs and make them rectify it, because really, they should have. Maybe make them, somebody said a lip. I have no clue what that is. I'm not an architect or street person. But anyhow, I just came to ask, maybe somebody's in a good mood today, they had a good tax day, and if there's any ideas that anybody can come up with to help us figure out how to rectify this safety issue, which shouldn't have even been around, because like I said, 90% of the houses have cut curbs when they're built. You know, my neighbors and I would appreciate it. You have my name, number, and email. So if anybody has any good ideas.
Well, we can't act on anything because it's not on the agenda, but
Oh, okay.
I've never heard
I
of
don't know
having
how to
to
do
drive
this.
over a curb to get into your driveway. And I've lived here for 42 years. I've never seen that. We've had people come in and ask for curb. Jim, you're just chomping at the bit? Got to hit the button.
Get this, there we go. Back in, when Maplewood Estates
Yes, that's it.
Townhomes, that's the name of the subdivision, was developed, that was back in 1987. And at that time, they didn't have the technology or the equipment to do what they call curb cutting. It was just being developed. Early 90s, they started doing that. So what they did was, they didn't know exactly where all the driveways were going to go in, so they designed a standard, what they called a mountable curb. It was an M4 curb, which meant 4 inches mountable, and that allowed for vehicles at that time to get into their driveways. And there's other areas in the village that have it. In fact, when I lived in Bartlett, my house had it. And you do have to take it fairly slow to get over those mountable curbs. But in the meantime, they've developed these curb cutting machines that come in and profile that curb, so it's now cut down to about anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2.5 inches, because you're also cutting the driveway at the same time. So they'll have to assess that when they do it, but it can be done. In fact, there's numerous ones in her subdivision, as she stated, where it has been done. What I think she's asking is if she could get a reduction on the fee for the driveways. If there's multiple driveways that are being done, the time for my inspector to go out and do them all at once is about the same. So say if 10 people went together, we would charge this, probably the same fee. We've done this before, and we would charge the same fee.
Done. See, it ain't even on the agenda. The engineer said it could be done, it's fine with me. So would you let us work on this?
I will.
And we'll get back to you, because now I understand what the problem is. And
Yep.
as long as you got somebody out there, we can't charge each one of them $95.
Well, if they went out 10 separate times.
I get it.
Then,
There's 8 of us right now who are
Right.
committed.
but if you all come in at once, more than likely, you'll probably hire the same contractor.
We would.
Just have him apply for the permit, it's one permit, and we could, take care of it at that time.
Thank you.
Pamela, all I could say to you is keep in mind, we don't assess a property tax. So when you come in and ask us for something, we live on those fees and fines and gas tax and sales tax, and, I mean, we're always begging for money. So that's why we put a fee like that on, which is more than fair.
It is truly understandable. It's just, again, it never hurts to ask.
Well, and ask and work good, and I hope your neighbors, now, don't go back and tell them all, and maybe you'll be able to make a few bucks. That's what my neighbors would do to me. But Pamela, thank you for coming in.
Thank you all.
I have your information, we'll be in touch with you. Thank you. Okay. We have a public hearing on the annual budget for 2019 to 2020 fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2019. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Geezer, trustee Swarze, everybody second in motion, so public hearing is open. Is there any questions on on our budget? Okay. Okay. Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Yes. Trustee Hennessy.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Fruzone.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarze.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Now, is there any questions from the audience on our budget?
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, we should indicate that there was a notice of public hearing that was published in the April 3rd, 2019 edition of the Examiner, indicating that on today's date, at this meeting, there would be a public hearing. That notice also indicated that individuals who were attending the public hearing could provide written and oral comments on any portion of the village budget, and also that the village budget has been available on the village's website and also at the clerk's office since April 3rd for examination.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. For those of you that care or don't care, it's a balanced budget. There was some cuts that had to be made because the state's taken money away from us pretty much on a regular basis. Plus, we lost some sales tax that was moved to other towns. So, but we do have a balanced budget going into this next year again. So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
Second?
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Fruzolini. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Fruzone.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarze.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Is there a motion to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by trustee Swarzy, seconded by trustee Fruzolini. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy.
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee Fruzone.
Aye.
Trustee Schwarze.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read what is on the consent agenda?
Certainly. Under staff reports and recommendations, number 1, purchase of replacement large water meters from Core and Main during the period of May 1, 2019 through April 30, 2020, in an amount not to exceed $50,000 pursuant to the provisions of Section 583 and 814C of the Carroll Stream Code of Ordinances.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 2, municipal center renovation project, interior signage, advice of change.
Yes.
Yes.
Agreements for professional services, BNF Construction Code Services, Inc., for consultant services not to exceed $80,000 in aggregate during fiscal year 1920.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 4, personnel policy revisions.
Yes.
Number 5, contract for information technology technician, GovTemps USA, for a term of 12 months starting May 1, 2019, per the terms of the agreement with the Carroll Stream Library.
Yes.
Number 6, Light Up Our Town, request for approval of a temporary waiver to the Code of Ordinances to allow temporary promotional signage.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 7, approval to purchase squad SUV for the Narcent K-9 agent for a cost not to exceed $28,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Number 8, recommendation to waive bidding requirement per municipal code section 583 and award a contract for the Park Unit 1 Detention Basin retrofit naturalization project to Bedrock Earthscapes LLC in the lump sum amount of $30,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Under ordinances, number 1, ordinance adopting the annual budget of the Village of Carroll Stream in the amount of $54,313,774 for the fiscal year 1920, fiscal year beginning May 1, 2019, ending April 30, 2020.
Yes.
That is ordinance number 2019-4-14. Number 2, ordinance amending ordinances 2017-12-73 and 2018-11-42.
Yes.
That is ordinance number 2019-4-15. Under resolutions, we have a resolution adopting written design standards for small wireless facilities within the village.
Yes.
Yes.
That is Resolution 3081. Resolution declaring surplus property owned by the Village of Carroll Stream.
Yes.
Yes.
That's Resolution 30,082. Resolution adopting the 2019-20 Employee Compensation Plan for the Village of Carroll Stream, recommending a general wage adjustment of 3% and funding this year's performance-based non-union compensation program at a set 2% adjustment.
Yes.
That's Resolution 3083, sorry. Number 4, resolution amending Section 3.3 of the intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage, Illinois, and the Village of Carroll Stream for the Park Northeast Detention Retrofit Water Quality Improvement Project per resolution number 3009.
Yes.
That's Resolution 3084. Under payment of bills, we have regular bills, April 2, 2019 through April 15, 2019.
Yes.
And addendum warrants, April 2, 2019 through April 15, 2019.
Yes.
Yes.
And under report of officers, we have the treasurer's report, revenue expenditure statement, and balance sheet, month ended March 31, 2019.
Received.
Is there a motion to put those items on the consent agenda?
Moved.
Second?
Moved by trustee, trustee LaRocca, and seconded by trustee McCarthy. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy?
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca?
Aye.
Trustee Giesers?
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni?
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy?
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve those items by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Frusaloni, seconded by trustee McCarthy. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy?
Aye.
Trustee LaRocca?
Aye.
Trustee Giesers?
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni?
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy?
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy?
Aye.
Report of officers. Trustee LaRocca.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I want to thank David Hennessy for your contributions to this board. Thank you for serving this community. Your devotion and insight on this board will be missed. Congratulations, and I'm sure we'll see you around town. From my family to yours, best of luck in the future, and I would definitely see you at the concerts and around. I also want to congratulate John Zalick on winning an election for a new trustee. I also want to thank Andrew Nudo and Stephanie Beagle for your desires to serve on this board. And also want to thank Beth Melody for her desire to come back as clerk. Thank you, and that ends my report.
Thank you, trustee LaRocca. Trustee Giesser.
I also want to thank Dave Hennessy for his service to the community, including the village board and the police and fire commission and the planning board. You hit the trifecta of boards, so thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure to work with you. You brought some needed energy and youth to the board, and I'm really impressed by the wisdom you have in knowing that you needed some time for yourself. So I know we'll see you down the road, so good luck to you and your family. Just want to mention a few things that are happening throughout the community. We have a July 4th parade fundraiser. It's coming up on April 30th at Culver's on Schmale Road. So you can dine in, take out, drive through, and the parade committee will receive 10% for the whole day. So hopefully you'll be able to have an opportunity to pop in at some point during that day. Also, we've got a huge event coming up in the community on April 27th, the community-wide food drive. I know most of us on the board are involved in one way or the other, either working our neighborhoods or collecting for our schools. But if you're working a neighborhood, please, get your bags out to the neighborhood. If you don't have a neighborhood leader, you can drop off at the high school on that day. But this is a good way for the community to help replenish the local food banks this time of year. Everybody thinks of Christmas and the holidays as a time of need, but, hunger is a problem throughout the year, even in DuPage County and even in Carroll Stream. So please, if you can, please participate. And we did I do this every year. I like doing this. I like mentioning this. But Trustee LaRocca mentioned, had a resolution about Arbor Day. Carroll Stream is really connected to Arbor Day because Morton Road is named after the son of the founder of Arbor Day, Mark Morton. The road is named after. He lived along there at North Avenue and Morton Road, and so we should be very proud that we have a connection to this, and we, as a board and as a village, have continued the tradition of planting and of this renewable resource. Just drive through the community and we see plenty of trees. So that is my report.
Thank you, trustee Giesser. Thank you for that update, too. Trustee Suarez.
Thank you, sir. Dave, again, I want to hop on and thank you for everything that you've done for this board and for me personally over the last 4 years. Not only bringing a young and new and fresh perspective of someone who deals with a lot of youth, I think was very, very important. We're going to really, really miss that. But your ability and compassion to empathize with various viewpoints, thinking long and hard before you made a decision, it really showed. And the citizens of Carroll Stream, we're very, very blessed to have you here. You serve for the right reasons. You took the job seriously, and you're a quality trustee, even better human being, and I was very honored to serve with you. So look forward to seeing you around and hopefully on to bigger, better things down the road. Something else, and with regards to the most recent election and our new trustee, John Zalick, and Mary's reelection, and the mayor and Laura's reelection, I'll save my thoughts for next meeting when we all get sworn in together. Also, a community event going on tomorrow here at Village Hall. Your Congressman Sean Casten and Raja Krishnamurthy are having their town hall here at Village Hall at 6 p.m. No reservations needed. You just first come, first serve for the most part? Yep. Okay. And I know there was a lot of talk about congressmen not making themselves available, so here we have some congressmen making themselves available, so I hope we have a really good turnout tomorrow. Other than that, please shop in Carroll Stream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, trustee Suarez. Trustee Hennessy.
I said what I wanted to say at the beginning. I'll just conclude with that. I really love this community and I love you all, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to serve up here. And everybody that's up here, and when John gets up here, echo what Greg say, that you guys are up here for the right reasons. And, I wouldn't trust the community in anybody's hands other than the people up here. And so Carroll Stream is going to remain strong through whatever ups and downs happen as the world turns. And this has just been an opportunity of a lifetime. And like I said, I'll be fading for a little bit, but I'm young enough that I don't anticipate being out of the public eye forever. So thanks again. Love you guys. Love this town, and things are going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Hennessy. Trustee Frizzaloni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pretty sure what Dave just said is we have to either convince him to run for the board again, or we have to form a new commission to appoint him to. I think that's exactly what he just said. In all seriousness, it's been an honor and a privilege to sit next to you for the last 4 years. You really have been, it's been wonderful to sit up here through good times, through hard times, and just listen to the ideas that we bounce off of each other, and that will be very greatly missed. So please, even though you're going to be taking some time off, don't, be afraid to shoot us your ideas, because I know that brain is always churning with ideas, and you're an ideas guy who likes to throw things up to see what could stick, and we definitely need that kind of input. So please don't be a stranger, and hopefully we'll see you up here someday. So thank you for everything. Wow, that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. The other thing that I wanted to mention is we voted to pass our budgets tonight, and I read a Facebook post today that has been weighing on me by an individual who does not understand how the Village of Carroll Stream works. It was basically an accusation that the village board has been trying to sneak fees and taxes past the residents of Carroll Stream. I have not responded to it. I don't know if I'm going to respond to it. But what I want to say is when it comes to the budget process, this board and this staff especially, every member of the staff of the Village of Carroll Stream spend countless hours going over the budgets, starting months in advance before we even have one budget meeting. And we have approximately 5 budget meetings before we get to the rough draft that then gets presented to staff, and staff takes their final chances before they present the budget to us. And there was a misconception months ago that the village board was going to be passing a budget deficit. So we were going to be passing an unbalanced budget. And that came out of the very first rough draft of our budget. Anyone who does budgeting knows you got to start somewhere. And the very first budget draft came up with, we need to come up with some new revenue streams. I would say that most of the time, we're either going to be faced with that when we go into a budget season, or we're going to be faced with, okay, we need to do some cuts to get down to where we need to be. That's very standard in Budget 101. You have to start somewhere. Well, that issue has taken on a life of its own, unfortunately. And the conception now is that the village board has tried to sneak it and stick it to the village, to the residents of the village by passing on these ridiculous fees and this liquor tax. The mayor just said we do not have a village property tax right now. We are facing some really tough times, and I have sat on this village board for the last 8 years during some really tough times. When the state just arbitrarily decided they're going to take $1 million away from us, they just expected us to figure out how to make that work, and we did. So yes, we started with some really tough budget decisions, and since that budget was created, and since we got to the draft of the budget that we thought was going to be our final draft, that budget changed several times because issues came up that are outside of our control. Sales tax revenue numbers started changing, and with that, we went back to our staff and said, find a way to balance the budget, and they did. And that's exactly what you expect your village staff and your village management to do, is what are some suggestions that we can do for raising revenue, and how can we cut expenses or defer expenses to another budget year if we need to. And that's exactly what we did. We've always done it that way in Carroll Stream, and we have always been transparent. Our meetings are open to the public. We encourage residents to come to our meetings. We are now to the point where we're putting our village meetings on YouTube so that more people have access to our board meetings. And I just want to go on public record as saying that this board really spends a lot of time and consideration when it comes to raising a fee. So the vehicle sticker fee is raising for the first time in 25 years. We're raising the vehicle sticker. We're still one of the lowest vehicle stickers in this area. We put in a 2% liquor tax, and people are saying, well, why would you do that? To me, that was actually a very easy tax because it's not taxing every single person in the village of Carroll Stream. If you think about where we have our grocery stores and the gas stations in town, they are utilized by a lot of people who don't live in Carroll Stream. So those people that don't live in Carroll Stream are paying that tax to the village of Carroll Stream. They're actually taking the burden off of the residents of Carroll Stream. It would be very easy for this board to sit here and say, let's put on a property tax, let's tax every single person, and that would be the easiest thing to do, but we don't always do it that way because we want to make sure that we are doing what's very best for the village of Carroll Stream. I'm not sitting here and saying we won't have a property tax someday, but the staff and this board is committed to doing everything that we can to prevent that. And if we get to that day, it is not because of anything that this board or the staff hasn't already done. It is because there are things outside of our control, like the state of Illinois, who continues to make decisions that impact us and take more and more revenues away from the village and the way that we do our day-to-day operations. So I just wanted to put that out there because I found this Facebook post to be exceptionally frustrating, and knowing how much that our staff cares about the village of Carroll Stream, to call into question anybody's commitment to making this the best town that we can, and that we might not be doing our budgeting the correct way, I found to be absolutely positively insulting. So I wanted to mention that tonight. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to end my report.
So you're not going to give me the person's name, huh?
I don't need to give you the person's name. I'm pretty sure you know who I'm speaking of.
I've been going around on Facebook too. Sometimes I wonder why I'm even on Facebook. I think it's a platform for some people that haven't got enough nerve to come in and say something to your face, can say it and then retract it later on. But thank you, Trustee Frizzalone.
You're welcome.
Trustee McCarthy.
Follow that up.
Well, Dave, I said what I had to say. Anything else I have to say, it can be between us, but congratulations and thank you. We did pass on a budget during our meeting. We approved a purchase of a SUV squad, and we're talking about spending money. Just to let you know, this isn't paid for, this particular squad's not paid for out of the general fund. This comes out of the narcotics forfeiture fund, and so will the maintenance. So, yes, we're buying the vehicle, but it's not coming out of out of our regular money. It comes out of the things that was taken from people doing drug deals. So it's not something we spent. Congratulations, everybody, during the election. Mary, Greg, Laura, glad to have you back. John, welcome aboard. Now the hard work starts for you, John, so.
You said you left me out.
Oh,
You hurt my feelings.
did I not say Greg?
No, you left Frank out.
Oh, I was getting there.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Nobody ran against me, see. It's being nice. Thank you.
Well, Frank had the tough election.
What, do you have 11 people not vote for him?
Did Bobby vote for you?
I hope so.
No, even though you ran unopposed, and I'm glad you ran unopposed. You deserved that.
Thank you.
How we all work together, you lead that. So, I think it was telling that you ran unopposed, and it was, again, good to have you back, too. Besides that, hey, so it snowed yesterday, and it's gonna be 70 tomorrow. Well, what that also does is it melts everything really fast. Last few meetings, I've mentioned at the end of the meeting, make sure, if you have any way possible, check your storm drains that are around the curbs or around your property. If they're full of debris, full of leaves, full of garbage, across the top of them, clear them out. Because when stuff like this melts and all of a sudden we get a rainstorm, the water's got nowhere to go. First it fills the street, and then it works its way up your yard. Then people come very upset that their house is getting flooded. It's not gonna solve all the problems, but keeping those storm drains clean and clear helps our storm plan work as it's supposed to. So if you get the chance, please do. Besides that, you know what, that's the end of my report.
Did you say Shop Carroll Street? I did. Okay.
I wrote it down.
You did?
I did.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Sorry to see you go, Dave. We were newbies together, at least for the board. I know you were on other boards, but it's like my little brother's leaving me. But anyway, we will see you at the concerts. I just want to also say thank you for everyone who voted to reelect me in. It's a great honor for me to be here, and I am ecstatic about it. Also, I was just elected to the secretary position for the municipal clerks of DuPage County. So I just got elected. Yeah. And so I will be actually hosting the next meeting here in town. It'll be June 5th, and I'm going to have it over at John and Tony's. So keep your eyes out for an invite. And also, I just wanted to say that with being a police volunteer, I see how passionate our police are. And it's not about, passing out tickets and, racking up the DUIs. It's about the protection of our citizens. And they go to great lengths. And for anybody who ever speaks any bad about the police, I tell them, all you have to do is follow the law. You won't get a ticket. They won't have any reason to pull you over. So just keep that in mind. And last, I just want to say to remember our military. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Rhodes, our village attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the pleasure of working with Trustee Hennessy on the Plan Commission and on the Board of Fire and Police Commission, and now on the Village Board. And I want to thank him for the professionalism and the professional way that he handles all of those duties across all of the commissions and the boards that he was on. It was very special and very good, easy for me to work with. I want to extend my best wishes to Dave for what the future brings, whatever that may be. And hopefully we'll see you back in not too distant future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Mr. Muller, our village manager.
A further comment on the budget. and kind of dovetail what trustee Fruzalone said about the process. When we received the initial budget recommendations from the departments, we found that it was in a deficit position. And what we did is we asked each department to come back and make some cuts. And we ultimately had to make $600,000 in budget reductions and freezes in order to get the budget balanced. So we do have some items in the budget that are frozen. And depending on how revenues come in during the coming year, we may come back to the board and recommend that we unfreeze some of those items, as we have done in previous years. And then, I guess as a final comment on the general corporate fund revenues, generally, when we have an excess of revenues over expenditures at the end of the year, those funds go into reserves that are used for capital projects. Lately, we have not had money to go into the capital fund, so it kind of suggests we're going to need another funding source for capital improvements during the coming years without some dedicated revenue source. And those funds are used for road improvements, bridge improvements, curb and gutter, things like that. So, and then just a ditto on all the other comments made by the board. Thank you, Dave, for over 10 years of service to the village, not only on the commissions, but culminating with the village board. Always appreciated your comments, your emails that you sent to us, asking us to look into things and providing your input on, your valuable input. So most people don't realize that it's not easy being an elected official and making the hard decisions that they have to make, and all the time that they put in. I mean, coming to the board meetings, going to all the special events, volunteering, it takes an extremely large amount of time. And most people don't realize it until they're elected or volunteer, and then they realize how hard it is, and most people don't serve 10 years like you did. So thank you again.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. David, thank you very much for your time. You know, I feel like you're one of my sons. When it was couldn't get any worse for me, when my son passed away, you were one of the few people that stepped up from your heart, as your mother did. And I'll never forget that. Thank you. You lived with your dad going when you were 6, so you understood probably more than anybody what it meant to my 4-year-old grandson. So thank you. The advice that you gave me and that your mother gave me to give to my daughter-in-law was well used, and I appreciate it. It's a shame that someone has to suffer that problem to be able to move on, and thankful to help someone else. So thank you very much. But I will miss you. I don't want to miss you, though. So I hope I see you around more than before. I want to talk a little bit about our budget process, and I've been on Facebook up and back with a few people, and this is one of the few towns, there's 3 towns left in, before I get anything else, Phil, thank you very much, because I was out following the guys around on Sunday morning after church. They were humming, man, I'm telling you. I was afraid all the plows were off already. They did a wonderful job. They never stopped. I think they were happy to get the overtime, but I think they would have rather been home on Sunday than be out there. But thank you, Phil, for a great job. Your budget's got to be blown this year. But thank you, and you could pass that on. I stopped the trucks and thanked every one of them that was out there. But thank you for what you did. This budget process has been a joke. I mean, we sit here at the mercy with no revenue, no true revenue stream. You look at all the towns around us and look at the revenue stream. It's property tax. That's a no-brainer. That's an automatic. You pay your property tax, because if you don't pay your property tax, the county will come and take your house away, and you see them in the paper every once in a while, a sheriff's sale. That's because they didn't pay their tax, or they moved out and didn't pay whatever they didn't do it right. We don't have a property tax, so we don't have a revenue stream. We have to create activity to create a revenue stream. We try and scrape together. In 2008, when things really got bad, the cuts that were made, a lot of that never came back. We never brought those people back. We got more part-time people than we ever had before. Look at our roads. I'll put our roads and streets, our industrial park up against anybody in DuPage County. I don't care who it is. Towns that have 130, 140,000 people that charge a tremendous amount for property tax. They're in the hole, $100 million that are in the hole, that they have budget gaps like we couldn't even begin to believe to see. This is not an easy process. These are some hard decisions that are made by this board. Somebody said, why do I think nobody ran against me? Because I think it's because of the people that I surround myself with. Because they know what they're doing, and they make hard decisions. This last time around, there's no question, I've been saying for 3 years we should put a property tax on. We can get rid of the vehicle sticker. We wouldn't have had to put the gas tax on. We wouldn't have had to do a lot of things that we do. We wouldn't have had to go up on the alcohol. We look at things to do to create activity and bring money in so we can keep the police force the way it is. We can keep public works the way it is. People don't get it, that they're not paying us a property tax. They look at their tax bill. On my building, I carry my tax bill around. I have a building and a home. And when people say, oh, that's not the truth, I show them my tax. I pay $23,000 just to the school in my building in the industrial park, just to the schools. Not to the library, the fire district, they get their money too, but just to the schools. We don't get a dime of that money. Nothing comes here. And all the people that are in the industrial park, when they do the head count in Springfield, we could do all the counting we want to do when the census comes. We don't get anything for them. Companies pull their billing out of here, out of this town. We lost over $1 million from one company. They don't say they're sorry about it. Who knows what kind of deal they cut? I'm not saying they did or they didn't. All I know is we don't get any of that money anymore, but their people are still here. Our police department still got to go in there when they have a problem. Our public works still got to plow the street and take care of it. When they park the trailers on the street, the police got to go in and separate whatever's going on and try and figure it out. I mean, we don't get, and I'm not looking for credit I didn't do this for credit. I do it because we do it because we love this town. I got 42, 43 years in here. All my kids went to school here. They all graduated from Glenbard North. My grandsons graduated from Glenbard North. We love this town. And I'm not beating the drum here. It's over with. I'm elected. But nobody ran against me because of this group, not because of me. I can't do this alone. The support that I get from this group is absolutely amazing, and from the staff. We're cutting our staff thin. We're putting people on part-time hours that I'm not sure I agree 100% with. I mean, everybody wants a level of service from us to continue, but they don't look at us as we should just, we hire more people, we should just do everything everybody wants. We have no control over a lot of things that happen in Springfield or in Washington. They do what they want to do. It doesn't matter where home, everybody says, oh, you're home rule, you could do what you want. Not true. They mandate stuff for us, they give us stuff, and we have no way of saying no to them. We just can't legally say no. Am I right, Mr. Rhodes?
Right.
In most cases, we can't say no. They tell us what this small cell bill. I laugh every time I get it. I just like to go out and rip them all off the poles. We were cutting a deal that would have been phenomenal, just like the gambling. A non-home rule town by the state of Springfield says the only amount of money that town, and I'm going to give you a town, I'll pick Itasca. They're not home rule. What we get $1,000 a machine for, they get $25 because that's the state said that that's what they could get. Where is that fair? They're still gambling. They get their 5% the way we do on the back end of everything. But that's the thing, what happens with the state. I spend probably way too much time reading and spending time with some of the other mayors trying to figure out how to beat this. This is a losing battle we're fighting when it comes to Springfield. And if anybody isn't looking to see what's happening in Springfield and what has happened in Springfield, they want to take our pension money, the fire department pension money, the police department pension money. They think that they should take 573 pension funds, is there? I don't know, some crazy number, and take all that money and we should give it all to Springfield, let them handle it. Really? They're $130 billion in the hole with the pension money, and now they want our money to handle it for us? I mean, I mean, that's pure stupidity. I wouldn't give them a nickel of our money. They're going to have to come and take it from us if they want it, because I'm not giving that money up. We struggle to keep that pension to a point where it's at. And I know the fire department, I was the treasurer at the fire department before I ended up here. It's a struggle. We don't get hardly any interest on that money, and they want to take it away from us. What are they going to do with it? Throw it away on everything else like they did the rest of our money? Yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry that somebody could tell us, and then we get criticized by the people that live in this town that don't know what's going on and criticize us, and we have to put up with what trustee Fruzalone said, because it hurt her feelings, because it should hurt her feelings. It hurts all of our feelings, because we work so damn hard to keep this village in such a good shape and safe village, from the fire department, the library, the park district. We all work together as a group. We built this building and paid $19 million in cash. We wrote the check. We didn't borrow the money. We didn't have to pay interest on it because we handled our money the way it should have been handled. And then we turned around and borrowed the library $2 million, so they didn't have to go out and bond out for the money and spend another $40,000 or $50,000 just to get their paperwork done. I'd rather borrow them the money and collect the interest back over a period of time than keep it in the bank someplace and collect, what, 0.5% or 3/4 of a point? I don't know what we're getting on our money now. It's a joke. And at the same time, we're helping the community. So people could criticize us all day if they want to. They're the ones that don't have a clue what they're talking about, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them criticizing what we do. I'm tired of them criticizing the way this village is run. This village is run by experts, college-degreed people. Bob Meller, how long you been here? 35 years, 42 years. Rick Geezer was born and raised here. And some of us have never left this place. I mean, really. I mean, it's like, come on. Give us a little credit. Give the staff credit. That's where it's deserved. No one knows how many awards our police department knocks them awards down like crazy. And why? Because we give them the tools to work with that they ask for. If we could afford it, we give it. There's other things we'd like to give them. We'd like to give them a dog. What's a dog cost? $75,000 by the time you get them and feed them. And I mean, we don't have the money to do it. I'd love to have our own dog. Can't afford to do it. We had a dog once. I mean, we can't replace that dog. I mean, things like that bother me. They bother me because we work hard. 2 years ago, we did the budget process, and then we had to redo it because the state took money away. Then we had to redo it because they took more money away. And I mean, we're talking hours and hours that we all sit in a room. We all try and come up with ideas to try and what could we do? How could we make this, the gas tax? How many people, here, I've been going around with one of our residents about the gas tax. It's like the worst thing we ever did to her. Really? Buy your gas in Wheaton then if you don't like buying the gas there. But we need the 4 cents a gallon. We need that money.
Those meetings have all been public.
Yes, everything has been, there is nothing that we do that isn't in the open. We do not, anybody that knows me, what you see is what you get. There is no hidden agenda with me. If I don't like it, I'm gonna tell you I don't like it, and I'll reel me in and tell me why I should like it. And Dave Hennessy's a perfect example of that. That's the way it should be. You got a problem, something you don't understand, bring it up, and let's talk about it. But Facebook, to me, is a way of, you just can't say what you want to say on Facebook and think you don't hurt people. My grandmother used to tell me, words are the worst thing in the world because they never leave you. When somebody says something bad, it stays with you forever. You think about it all the time. A cut on your arm will heal, but that scar stays inside of you. And she was right. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of that integrity that came from older people. I think I said enough. Thank you to my board. Thank you for being reelected. Thank you for everybody that ran Zalek. I'm looking forward to working with you. The two that didn't win, they're always welcome to come in. There's other things that they could get involved in if they want to. I would greet them with open arms if they wanted to get involved on a committee that's open and they want to just go from point A to point Z. It doesn't always work that way. I mean, you got 25 years in this village, and all of us that knew you, that worked with you, and that helped you, and the people that knew you voted for you, and that's why you got in. And I thank you for running for the right reasons. When you and I sat down, you gave me the right reasons. Otherwise, I would have never been with you. the things that you told me about this town, that you felt that you could make it better because you were a police officer here for so long and raising your family here, stuck with me. Now I'm going to see that you'll do exactly what you said you would, and I'm sure you will. So thank you for doing and running. You'll be up here in 2 weeks. With that, we're going to go into closed session, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. We've got two items on the agenda for closed session this evening. Section 2C2 of the Open Meetings Act, collective negotiating matters, and Section 2C6 of the Open Meetings Act, setting a price for the sale or lease of property owned by the public body. There will be no action taken after executive session, so the motion will be to go into executive session for those two items and then to adjourn from executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Suarez. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Hennessy? Aye. Trustee LaRocca?
Aye.
Trustee Giesers?
Aye.
Trustee Frusaloni?
Aye.
Trustee Shorzy?
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Dave, you kind of just wanted to say no, just to say no, didn't you?
No, don't. You asked to wait and shop and Carol Crane. But I get you, I know.